Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Great, great. So I am here today with Rachel Lundberg of Lundberg Yoga. And Rachel is a yoga teacher, a mentor, and an intuitive guide. And we're here to ask her some of the same questions we've been asking some of my other guests about what exactly are you doing to cope with this crazy virus situation? And what kind of things might you be able to recommend for our listeners? So, what are some of the things that you are turning to cope with the coronavirus?
So, this is a very fascinating time for everyone on the planet. Um, I have three teenagers, and so it's been fascinating because it's not one of those things that I can shield my children from or kind of just deal with on my own as an adult. There's nobody that's immune to the experience that we're having globally. So what I may do have done in the past, being an individual dealing with something very personal, has shifted, because I'm not just dealing with something on a personal level and my own maybe worries about what's going on in the world, but also, on a family level and on a community level and on a global level. So I find that I'm actually in shared space much more frequently now, obviously, because we're all in our homes. So the things that I'm turning to are kind of those homegrown foundational things that bring community together. So I actually am, focusing around good food together,
Mm-hmm.
as a family, as a way to calm things down.
Mm-hmm.
Music, music in the house. Um, Conversation, obviously, being outside, just the very, very simple things that maybe I took for granted before, like having a meal together, like listening to music together, or sitting down and watching a show together. I can't remember the last time that we did that as the family. So, getting back to the basics, honestly, for me and for our family has been really key.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as for myself, um, in keeping myself afloat, and also I think as women we're often the guide in the home, the energetic guide. um, just making sure that I am keeping my vessel clear in the sense of, I'm not consuming a lot of fear-based media. It's out there, it's around. I mean, I see it, but whether or not I'm going to engage in it is a different story. So I'm being selective about what I choose to listen to. And so I'm staying informed, but I'm not getting sucked into that huge fear cycle that is happening for a lot of people. That is helping me stay grounded as well. And then just remembering that the only thing I can control is my own reaction and also kind of the environment that I'm creating in my home.
Mm-hmm. I love the distinction that you made between sort of what you're doing as a family and with the kids, and then what you're doing for yourself. Because you're right, it's so different. And it's funny that we use the word immune because, the biggest issue with this virus is our immunity, but no one's immune from being affected by such a global experience. So it's ironic that that's the word that comes to mind. But
Right.
I love what you're saying about the family time, and almost the benefit of having that time in a way that we wouldn't have before. Has that struck you as sort of ironic as well?
Absolutely, because it's it's that this is how I see this. This is like everything is happening in the world and nothing is happening all at the same time, right?
Mm,
So there's this huge just polarity of so much chaos and so much stillness. So we can witness all of this chaos happening in the external world, yet we're being forced to be in stillness. We can't just run to the grocery store, or at least if we do, we're going to be very thoughtful about it. So So we're just being forcefully invited into what is a beautiful practice that a lot of people choose to do on their own without a chaotic and global pandemic situation. So when people are living mindfully, they do think about and assess before they choose to make their next move, um, or how they're going to interact with their community, their family. So it is, I've noticed for my own communities that I interact with, it's uncomfortable if you don't have that kind of awareness or skill set yet. But this is the perfect time to develop a skill set of mindfulness and stillness and appreciating that stillness. So yes, coming back to your question about noticing that time with my family. So being that we're, three teenagers, they all had jobs. My youngest doesn't, but my husband and I, both entrepreneurs, we were all in different directions all at the same time. Still a very close and loving family, but lots of different activities. Now it's almost like that golden time when they were between the ages of like 8 and 12, where they weren't crazy toddlers and they weren't yet teenagers, and I still had them home. We still had dinner together. I still knew what time they were going to bed, those types of things. So just having that again has been, at first, I kicked and screamed inside a bit about it because I was like, you know,
Yeah.
I like the fact that we all have our own things going on and our own freedoms and different things. And now it's like, oh, how lovely is this? How
Hmm.
lovely is this that my daughter is about to move away from home any minute. The moment that all of this subsides, she's going to be off into the world, into her life. And so we just have this golden time. And it really is, I'm choosing to see it as golden. And not just that, Elizabeth, but also for my husband and myself. We have been able to connect in ways that we haven't in years because we are getting to spend so much time together. It's been really fun. It's like, it's just been really, really fun. And
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And just touching back on some of the points you were mentioning, I love the idea of intentionality, sort of a forced intentionality and having to think about what you do before you do it, which I think with so many of us used to be running on autopilot, we didn't stop to think about what we were doing. We just went and did it. Um, so I find that is a wonderful reminder. And it also makes me curious, do you feel like you were really prepared for this because of your training through yoga and coaching?
um, yeah,
Hmm.
um, I wouldn't say necessarily like prepared for the coronavirus, but prepared for chaos.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, maybe I didn't have all of the groceries that I wanted or all of the, those material things. But as far as like here, I am so grateful that I chose the path of this awakening, or that it even chose me years ago. And so that I could develop a stability within myself that all of us are being invited into now. And those of us that have created that stability and had the opportunity to build that already are even getting to do it at a deeper level. So it's benefiting all of us no matter what. But I do feel super grateful that I have been through and so many different of my own challenges that I've taken on and not run from, so that I can be so present right now, not just for myself, but for my family and for my community that follows me and looks to me as a mentor and guide. So yeah, for sure.
Right, definitely. And I agree in the sense that, having our own sense of chaos in one way or another led us to sort of choose these paths as healers, coaches, mentors. And I love the way you're expressing the gratitude for being prepared for that. And I like the word choice. Choice is one of my favorite words because I think not everybody realizes that they do have a choice. when it comes to trying to figure out how to manage their feelings. And that doesn't mean ignore their feelings, that doesn't mean push them away, but the choice to even sit down and feel them is a choice, and let them come through and acknowledge and address. And like you were saying, facing the fears that come up, and having done that previously prepared you to do that now.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Do you find that some of the fears are coming back again? I found that for myself, that some of the things I thought that I'd put away or that I'd already dealt with, just coming all right back.
Absolutely. Yeah, but they come back and they stay for such a shorter period of time. So I think that that is one of the best ways to kind of gauge, I wouldn't say success, but your own personal evolution is that you're never not. I used to think that it was that I was just going to feel good all the time. Like when I got there, I was just going to feel amazing all the time and I was never going to be fazed by anything. Well, that's unrealistic and it's not part of the human experience. What I've learned is that how I can tell what I've nurtured in my own personal garden is that um, when the fears come up, they don't stay for days, months, maybe even years like they did before. It might be moments, it might be a day, it might be a week if it's pretty intense. But I also used to be really afraid to face my feelings. And that is something that I have stepped into courageously, and anyone and everyone can do that. To just sit with how you're feeling and just show yourself the love and compassion that only you can show yourself, that no one else can actually do for you. And that's what we're being asked to do right now, because there isn't a lot of, there is just you. At the end of it all, there's just you. And you have family, you have friends, you have communities, but the person that is most responsible for your internal experience is you, and showing up for yourself. And I just sit there with myself and be like, I'm not going to abandon you, Rachel. I love you and I'm right here. And that has been the most beneficial practice that I've ever done, probably um, before this and during this, that I won't abandon you. I'm right here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just reiterates the idea that we do have what we need all within us already. And it's just a matter of recognizing that and then being able to draw on it in the moments that we need it. I find that my mantra lately has been similar. It's just been, you know, unconditionally love and accept myself, or um, I completely love and accept myself. I just repeat it, repeat it, repeat it.
Mhm.
And I also like how you said that dealing and facing our fears doesn't mean they necessarily go away forever, but when they come round again, they are shorter term, or you recognize it, you see it, you kind of laugh at yourself with some awareness that, oh yeah, here it is again.
Mhm.
And then you kind of draw on that inner wisdom and the tools to know what to do next. So, yeah, that's been very useful. Um, so, what would you say are a couple of the practices that you would recommend for people who maybe just starting to recognize that they have some choice, or that they're feeling fearful and they're not quite sure what to do next?
So the thing, and this is science based as well, and it might sound cliche because we hear it a lot, but the thing really truly is to just, I personally find putting my hands on my chest, or one hand on my chest, one hand on my belly, and breathing. So I remember hearing, I mean, I'm a yoga teacher, so obviously I teach about breath, and there's a bug flying at me. But I remember being in so much panic and anxiety at different times in my life where I'm like, you've got to be kidding me if someone tells me again to start breathing. But that said, when we can even count the breaths, so if you count one on the inhale, two on the exhale, all the way up to 10, and then start over again in just a cycle like that, that's a really lovely way to engage the brain and start to engage that deeper part of you. And I reference, I'm pointing to my heart space because that is what I consider to be the deeper part of us. So we have this very frontal, very brainy part of who we are, which is where most of us are living. but there's that deeper sense of who we are that's quiet, and you won't get there through thinking. So you have to slow something down. So it's usually helps to slow down the breath. So I would say number one would be to slow down the breath. Try that for a couple of minutes, just counting up to 10 and then starting over again. And just repeating that, and you will eventually calm down the nervous system. And it's in that pause between where the nervous system was really ramped up and where the nervous system is calming down and in moving into a space of calm that you can then access your higher wisdom. And when we choose to do that, we rewire pathways in our brain so that our brain, instead of going to its default mode of fear and anxiety and worry and whatever patterns and behaviors we have, we start to pattern a new pathway towards being connected to a deeper part of ourselves, like you were saying, your higher self or your deeper wisdom. So breath. And then confidence in knowing that by doing that, you're retraining your brain. There's so much science to back this up. Anything that you look on about neuroplasticity and calming the nervous system is going to talk to you about breathing first and foremost. And then choosing at that moment, as you get into that calmer space, for the first choice you make is the breath. As you move into that calmer space, it's then what do I choose? What kind of either emotion do I choose, reaction do I choose, reality do I choose? And the more you can emotionally get yourself into that space through your imagination, through the words that you use, through what you look for on social media, anything that you can do to provide support to your brain and nervous system, that this is how you desire to live your life, then the universe, if you want to call it the universe, however you want to call it, is going to start supporting you. Your whole brain system is going to start looking for evidence that that's true. So how is it that I'm so joyful right now is a question you could ask yourself as you've coming into that calmer space. And then your brain and body, your whole energetic system starts looking for evidence, and you rebuild and restructure your brain, your nervous system, and eventually your life.
Yeah, and then that evidence just starts feeding that new pattern.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love the distinction between, the head and the heart, in the sense that the fear is more coming from your mind than it is from your deeper knowing, and your deeper knowing knows you're always okay, even when your mind is having a hard time grasping that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great distinction.
I think that we are moving into, I don't just think, I personally feel that we evolve as a species, and we're evolving out of this overly sensitive fight or flight response. And so, if you haven't been aware of it in your own body, you're probably aware of it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so just being aware of it is step number one. Breathing and choosing something different is really all you have to do. As simple as it sounds, it might not feel simple. It might feel like the hardest thing you've ever done, but it won't feel like that forever. I can guarantee you that. And that as you continue to make a different choice over and over and over again, you evolve as a person out of that default mode of fight or flight, which allows so many other people to do the same. And we just kind of ripple effect across the world of no longer needing to operate in fear constantly.
Right. And then we're not, once we stop identifying with all the fear-based things, it does open up your noticing of all the things that are already present that are not based on fear, but maybe you didn't notice because you're going to the fear place. So I love how that kind of a practice just expands the potential and possibility. So, and because it's already there, it's not like something new has to get created. It's already there, but we don't notice it because our minds are focusing on going to the way we always went, or thinking the way we always thought. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
beautiful.
it's not our fault. I mean,
Oh, mm-mm.
we've been programmed that way, just as the human brain is just set up that way. And then our whole society and systems have supported that. So it's not like you chose to be in fear. But once you become aware of it, then you can choose something else. And like if I was in fear right now, I might not notice that there's beautiful trees behind me. You know, your focus gets very narrow and you're only focused on one thing. I might not notice that my dog is relaxing across the room or that I have this beautiful plant in my room. But then, like you said, as you choose something different, the whole world, the world of possibilities, world of beauty, world of abundance, world of joy just really starts blossoming. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So if people wanted to get a little more of you, I believe you are streaming yoga right now online. Is that true?
I am. So you can go to my Facebook page, Rachel Lundberg Yoga,
Okay.
and I'm always posting on there when I'm doing live classes, and they're on Zoom. And so I'm here in Portland, Oregon, but you could be anywhere and take class with me. Um, I also offer several different online courses that people can either do self-led or with my assistance. One of those programs in particular that I really love is called 6 Weeks to Calm. And I do lead groups through that 6 weeks and assist them as they move through the content. And this is a perfect time to do a program like that. I'll be starting my next group on April 8th, I believe, if that's next Wednesday. Yeah, April 8th. And so, yeah, and I have a bunch of specials going on right now with that. But if you want to follow what I'm doing and what's going on with me, Rachel Lundberg Yoga, um, and I would love to share. And I do share a lot on there. So
Great, great. And just speaking from personal experience, I did take your 6 weeks to come and loved it. It was so timely with, I mean, we started it right before the whole virus thing exploded. So it was a wonderful resource to really help ground in that centering and that calmness in the moments where it felt very unsettled, as is understandable. So I will definitely post about that underneath the video, and I'll post about your Facebook page, and hopefully lots of people come and check it out.
yes, thank you. And Elizabeth, you've been such a gem. I really appreciate the work you're doing. I love that you did 6 weeks of golf with me. It was super fun. And yeah, just keep shining your light because it's gorgeous and beautiful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I do. So, well, thank you very much for speaking to me today, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Love and light. Bye.
Bye.